Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Simpsons Episode Reviews. And of course you saw what the episode that I'm going to review is. It's called Covercraft, and from now on I'm basically going to do it that way. I'm going to show you what the episode is before I actually start talking in these particular reviews. So that way you'll basically know what the title of the episode is, because I used to put the episode in annotation down below when I actually say the episode, but from now on I'm not going to do that. I'm going to basically put the title of the episode that I'm going to review at the beginning of every single episode review that I do. I just want to explain that to you all. So this is the last Simpsons episode review, and I do want to point that out. This is the last Simpsons episode review for the month of November. And this is also the second to last episode of the Simpsons episode reviews for the year 2014. Because there's only one more episode left that I have to actually review. And that won't be until December though. You'll find what the title of that particular episode is at the end of this review. But like I said, the episode that I am reviewing today is called, and I think I said it at the beginning of this particular episode, the episode I'm reviewing is Covercraft. And I will tell you right now that so far this is one of my least favorite titled episodes of The Simpsons for this particular season. Yeah, I just don't like the title of this episode, but what can you do? It was basically the decision of Matt Selman, who actually wrote the episode, so it's not on me. So here's the plot, and the plot is all about Homer Simpson, Reverend Lovejoy, Dr. Hibbert, and Kirk Van Houten starting a cover band. And of course Apu decides to actually join, and the entire band actually accepts him. And the name of the band, they actually titled themselves, they titled their band Covercraft. And that's basically the title of the episode. So now I'm going to talk about the full story. But before I do, if you have not seen the episode, here's an annotation, and this is where you can go, so that way you won't be spoiled, and hopefully you will see that particular episode even after you're done watching this. So, but I'm just basically telling you right now that if you want to wait until you see the episode before actually watching the spoiler part, just check out the annotation that's on my right side and go that part of this particular review. So that's all I really got to tell you. So here is the full story. Act 1 begins where Moe and King Toot fight, and the fighting extends from Moe's Tavern to King Toot's store, and King Toot's store actually ends up being closed along with Moe's Tavern, and Moe and King Toot actually get arrested. And when Lisa sees that King Toot's store was actually closed as a result of what happened, where Moe and King Toot were fighting, she couldn't go to that particular store. So her and Homer basically had to go to another music store. And this is where Homer actually buys a bass guitar, thanks to recommendations to a couple of the business people that ran the store. And Homer gets interested in his bass guitar and plays it at home. And as a result of the loud noise, Marge doesn't like it that much. So she and a couple of her friends talk about Homer's bass playing, and they basically decide to actually give Homer some band members. And what happens next? Well, he gets Kirk Van Houten, Dr. Hibbert, Reverend Lovejoy, and eventually a singer to help out making this band basically a cover band be popular. This is how Act 1 ends, but the special surprise the special surprise is not until Act 2. Act 2 begins with that special surprise. And the surprise I'm talking about is Apu actually wants to join the band as a lead singer. And once he sings, the rest of the band actually likes it. And so Apu actually gets to join. And that's when the band actually decides a name. They call their band name Covercraft, which is also the title of the episode. And surprisingly enough, they decide to go on tour. And they actually, surprisingly enough, people enjoy this new cover band. And they're basically called a cover band. That's why they are actually called Covercraft in the first place. And they do so well that the band Stargazer actually notices them. But the thing about it, Stargazer is actually looking for a new lead singer. So once they notice Covercraft doing tours and stuff, and they actually like Apu's voice, because Apu actually becomes the star of the band, that's when Stargazer actually drops by one of Covercraft's gigs. And they ask Apu to actually join the band as a lead singer. So Apu accepts, because the thing about it, Apu actually enjoys Stargazer. And it was their music that influenced him. So that's the reason why Apu left to join Stargazer, leaving Covercraft without a lead singer. And that's where Act 2 ends. Act 3 begins with Apu performing for Stargazer, while Covercraft is struggling to actually continue as a band. And Homer actually gets upset with the band, and the band ends up breaking up. And then, of course, Marge actually gets tickets and backstage passes to see Apu in his latest concert with Stargazer. So the Simpsons family actually goes to that concert. So Homer decides to actually see Apu with that backstage pass. And then he notices that Apu is not in his dressing room. So as a result of still being mad at Apu, he tries to take away his special jacket, because the thing about Apu's jacket, that was the jacket that actually motivated Apu to sing for Covercraft. And Homer felt that taking it away would make Apu lose his luster with singing. But then Homer hears that the band is actually coming into Apu's dressing room. So Homer hides. And that's where Homer notices that Apu is not actually happy with his gig with Stargazer. He's basically not happy with not having a break once in a while from the tour, I should say. And Homer notices that, and when the rest of the band actually leave the room, Homer comes out of hiding and talks to Apu. And that's where Apu and Homer decides to actually poison the rest of the band members for Stargazer. And they do that by giving the band tainted hot dogs from the Quickie Mart. And as a result of the band getting sick from those hot dogs, they couldn't continue. So Stargazer had to be replaced, and they were basically replaced by Covercraft. And Covercraft actually performs with Apu as the singer again. However, the cops actually notices that the hot dogs were tainted, and they actually find out that Homer and Apu actually tainted those hot dogs. And they were, by the way, they were actually from the Quickie Mart, but it was Homer and Apu's idea to actually make the rest of Stargazer sick. And as a result, Homer and Apu get arrested, and they are sent to jail as a result. And that's how basically the episode ends. Spoiler over. Now I'm going to talk about my favorite moments from the episode. First off, I commend the person that actually did Apu's singing voice. It was fantastic. If you are not, and I will say if you're not part of a band or have not done solo projects, you should. I will say that. Whoever did the singing voice for Apu, you should, if you have not. Okay? Now, here are some of my favorite parts from the episode. For one thing, I actually enjoyed the part where Homer was playing his bass guitar at his house, because at times it was actually quite funny, especially where Marge was actually changing Maggie. And I also liked the part where Bart and Milhouse were actually playing Jenga, and Homer was playing his bass guitar, and what happened was Milhouse actually got crushed by one of Bart's shelves. And I thought that was quite funny. Now, another thing that I really enjoyed, and this is the last thing I'm going to tell you. The other thing that I really enjoyed was Sammy Hagar being in this episode. I thought at times when he was in this particular episode, I thought those particular parts where he was in was fantastic. I thought him being in this episode was a fantastic idea. I actually smiled at the end of Act 2 where he was in one scene. And I also liked where he was in the ending. And I'm not going to give you any spoilers about the ending. You got to watch the ending for yourself. But those times where he was in that particular episode, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed him as a guest star. So that's pretty much it for my favorite moments from the episode. Now on with the review. Now for this particular review, I'm just going to talk about the pros and cons. First, the cons. The first con is with the episode title. When I first heard about the episode title, I basically thought that the title didn't really mean nothing. And I still feel that this title sucks, because the thing about it, I didn't even like this title to begin with in the first place. That's the first thing. Second, I had no idea why it was called Covercraft. But now that I know, I basically know now. I basically know why it's called Covercraft in the first place. Is because Homer and the rest of the band members decided to call their band Covercraft. And that's how we basically got the title in the first place. I had no idea at the time, but I still don't like the title of this episode. Secondly, was with King Tut. I felt that King Tut as a character was basically wasted, because he was hardly even in the episode. He was only there to fight with Moe, get arrested, and then appear at the end of the episode. That's it. So I felt that King Tut's character was actually wasted. And the final thing was the story in Act 3 was kind of lacking a little bit. And I thought it was going to ruin the episode. But surprisingly, it didn't. But it could have been. It could have ruined the episode. But surprisingly enough, some of the things in Act 3 that I really enjoyed basically prevented the episode from going downhill. But that's basically all the cons that I just wanted to tell. Now I'm going to talk about the pros. The first pro is with the story. The story was still actually good. I still really enjoyed this particular episode for the story, even though Act 3 could have been a little bit better. Act 1 and Act 2 still made me really happy about this particular story. And I still feel that the story, even though it could have been better, was still quite good. The second pro was with the humor in Act 1. Because when Homer gets his bass guitar and starts playing it at the Simpsons house, which of course he lives, which you knew that already. At times it was actually quite funny when he actually played his bass guitar at his home. I thought that was actually quite funny when he did that. And the final pro, Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar, his guest starring role in this episode was actually awesome. At times where he was in this particular episode were actually quite cool. Especially at the end of the episode. The ending of this episode where he was in was actually awesome and quite funny. And I'm not going to spoil that. You got to check this episode out for yourself. So that's basically all the pros in a nutshell. Even though Sammy Hagar was only in a few scenes in this episode, I really enjoyed those scenes. And that's what made me happy about this episode. So I am giving this episode 3 stars, even though it's pretty close to being a 3.5 star rated episode. So that's basically all I have to say. Covercraft, I still recommend that you watch it. You might actually like it. You might not. You got to check it out for yourself. So that's basically my review of Covercraft. Now I just want to tell you that the episode Covercraft is available on the Simpsons World app and at simpsonsworld.com. You can also watch it on Hulu Plus and a week later on Hulu. And it's also available on the Fox.com website. Now, I do want to tell you that I recently watched the deleted scene for Covercraft, and it was actually quite funny. So I'm actually going to put the link to that particular deleted scene, just in case you have not seen it. But that's my review of Covercraft, and this is the last review for November. So there's only one more episode review left for the year 2014. And the next episode review that I am doing is a Christmas one. The name of the episode is I Won't Be Home for Christmas. And that episode actually won't be airing for a couple of weeks. So I will be able to review that in a couple of weeks' time. So I hope you enjoyed this particular episode review. And since it is Thanksgiving week, I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving. So thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you next time. Peace out, everybody. And if you have not subscribed to this channel, please do so. There are going to be more Simpsons episode reviews on the way. Okay? Thank you very much. Peace out, everybody. Thank you very much for watching this video. And if you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. And if you have not seen any of these videos that are on the screen, you can click on one of them. Thank you very much.